Howdy, everyone. Welcome to Tilson Live. It is Tuesday. We are coming at you today. I'm Eric Aller with Tilson Homes, Senior Vice President and part of the fourth generation of the Tilson family, joined this week and every week by the one, the only, the infamous, the notorious, the best there's ever been, Dawn Dantzler, Vice President of Marketing and Customer Experience. Welcome, Dawn.
Hey, Eric. How's it going?
Oh, it's going great. It's going great.
Awesome.
The sun is shining. It's drying out. A little bit of rain we got this week, so that's a good thing. And we're here to talk to our Tilson family about all things site preparation.
Yeah, exciting.
So, yeah, you guys jump in. Tell us where you're watching from. Tell us where you're building. Tell us what stage you are in. And we look forward to talking to each every one of you. What's a little bit of what's going on in your world, Dawn? What are you seeing? What's happening?
I'm finally getting a little bit warmer. That's good.
Dug out of the snow, I guess?
Yes. So that's good. They keep saying we're going to get some more, though. So I'm like, no, that's enough.
Unbelievable.
We fill up. That's all.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
But yeah, so that's going on. We did a beautiful home video for the Canyon home tour. So thank you, Mr. Cade. Thank you to the Cade family for that. So we're excited to share that in the next couple of weeks. Getting ready for the International Builders Show. So that's going to be fun.
Coming up.
Yes.
Coming up, you guys, y'all tuning in, drop your comments. We are live on Facebook, live on YouTube. It is Tilson Live. It is Tuesday. As Dawn mentioned, it's not next week. We'll be live again next week with the week.
Yeah, we'll be live next week, but then in 2 weeks we'll take off. Yeah,
because she won't say this, so I will. But Mrs. Dantzler is one of the 5 finalists. So she's already won the Silver Award for national. What do they call it? It's a marketing director, marketing professional of the year. Marketing professional of the year. She is a finalist, so she's already won the Silver Award. So she is already, not that we didn't know this, but one of the top 5 marketing professionals in the country, undisputed. So everybody join in and say congratulations to Dawn. And we're going to go in 2 weeks and get her trophy for being the best, and we'll come on home. So
I don't know if we're going to get a trophy for me, but we're definitely our new home specialists, our OSC team. They are also up for Online Sales Counselor of the Year, that team as a whole. And then Carrie, who is one of our newest new home specialists, is up for Rookie of the Year for OSC. So one of those in the bag.
So for all of you that are just tuning in, like we were just talking about, we are headed to Orlando in a couple of weeks for the International Builders Show, and we are the Tilson Home Company, our family. We are up for a number of national awards, not the least of which are people y'all interact with day in and day out. Of course, Dawn herself personally, but she tries to slough that credit off. But also OSC our entire online sales team. If you have called and made an appointment with one of our online sales, you are dealing with the best of the best. And so anyway, we're excited. We're here. We want you to ask all your questions about site preparation. That's what we're talking about today, getting your land ready to build. This is probably one of the toughest parts about the upfront. Well, it is the toughest part of the upfront process and what makes it so different from production, Dawn. So tell us a little bit about why this is why are we even talking about this? We're building houses here.
Well, because most people, for the majority of our customers, building on your land, this is a one-time experience. This is the first time they've ever done this. They're used to either buying an existing home or moving into a home in a pre-planned subdivision where all of that work has been done up front. When you think about it, though, with most of our homes, every individual home is kind of its own little mini subdivision. So we have to actually go through all of that upfront work that usually in a community, they kind of spent 2-3 years getting ready to build. So putting in road access and connecting utilities, clearing land, doing all of those things that we need to do to make your home a reality. And because it is your land, that's not necessarily something that we can do for you. So it's something that we are definitely here to guide you through, but you're going to need to do a little bit of the legwork. And so we just kind of wanted to talk about the things that you're going to need in order to start the ball rolling and the steps that you need to take.
You bet. So let's see where some of these folks are joining us from. We can shout out to them and then get this party started.
All right. We got Liv saying howdy.
Howdy, neighbor. How are you?
We have Rondo. We're building the Floresville in Chambers County. Do we have any videos or virtual of this home? I want to say that we have a Floresville virtual tour. Let me look real quick. I feel like that's one we did, but I could be wrong. It's been a minute. And I was wrong. We do not. I will look and see if we have any photos of that for you, but we do not at the moment. But we can definitely look through our archives and see what we've got for you.
Build one, Rhonda, and we'll have them.
She is. So when she's done, we can show off hers. Angela is in Austin, but building in Bulverde. Good choice.
Blame you.
We've got Angel in Mejia.
Very nice.
We got Molly in Houston looking for land in Fort Bend County area. Nice. We've got Tracy coming in from Henley.
Awesome. Welcome, Tracy.
We got Hitty. We're building the LaSalle in Waller County, currently framing. Awesome. All
right. Send us some pictures, Heidi.
Yes. We got John. Good afternoon and happy Tilson Tuesday. Happy Tilson Tuesday to you. We've got Janet. Howdy. We're building a live oak D in Grayson County with lots of customizations, waiting on final plans and GCEC to put up the temporary power pole. Everything else is ready to go. Awesome.
Thank you, Janet, for sharing. Yeah, we're talking a little bit about that today. The Grayson County Electric Co-op, what you're talking about, waiting on temporary power. How do we go about doing that? So
what's that mean?
Yeah, stick around and share your wisdom with some of these folks that are going through it right now. It'd be awesome.
All right. Let's see. Thank you, Janet.
Kind of a big deal.
We got Kristin. Hey guys, building a Canyon D in Gardner Ridge. Congrats, Dawn. Thank you, Kristin. We're excited. Colleen, Kate, thank you so much for letting us come out to your house.
Yes, thank you, Colleen.
And awesome. Thank you for the great compliments. Here's Carolyn, the leader of our OSC team. Yay, go team. We got Ashton building in Bastrop, Texas. Spoke with Wade the other day. I'm getting excited to go in mid-February. Awesome. Just got her survey done and deed completed. Great.
Beautiful.
Linda, howdy from Colorado Springs. Hopefully one of these days I'll be saying howdy for my new Tilson home near Decatur. Awesome.
Wise County.
We got Cedric coming in from Dallas. We got Thomas. Howdy y'all, building in Angelina B and Brian. Stakeout is next week. Question is, who do we need to check with for a driveway culvert with proper drainage and flow?
Great question, Thomas. So real quick, and we will get to that, but I can tell you if you're in Bryan, if you're in the city of Bryan, that's who you're going to check with. It's going to be the city of Bryan. And if you're in Brazos County, so if you're unincorporated Brazos County, so outside the city limits of Bryan or College Station, it's Brazos County Road and Bridge. And they tell you the culvert dimensions. And in some cases, they'll actually do the install, but in a lot of cases, they'll just tell you what the diameter of the culvert needs to be. And then we can help you get bids on getting it installed because they tell you, it has to be 12-inch, 18-inch, 24-inch, whatever diameter culvert it needs to be. There's not a permit for it necessarily, but they will tell you what the dimensions are going to be. So again, if it's in Bryan, it's going to be the city of Bryan. If you're in unincorporated Brazos County, it's Brazos County Road and Bridge.
All right. And then we've got Cedric asking, remember, he's from Dallas, ballpark price difference in building in developed versus incorporated areas.
Man, Cedric, it varies really way too widely. In some cases, it could be actually nothing, like it doesn't change at all. And in some cases, it could be $30,000, $40,000. So it really depends on the exact area you're building. I mean, what all tap fees they have, impact fees, compliance costs. Some of them have fire sprinkler systems they want put in. They want like sewer lines and water lines extended. Those are the things that will drive up the cost pretty significantly real quick. But there's a lot of cases where it's pretty negligible, usually a couple $1,000. But in some cases it can get pretty extreme quickly.
All right, makes sense. All right, we've got Carolyn. Howdy from James and Carolyn in Austin, building a Travis in Fredericksburg.
Very cool. See, she answered all the questions.
She did.
All the questions.
5 stars.
Gold star.
Johnny is hoping to have our site evaluation soon in Guadalupe County.
Awesome. We'll tell you what to expect here in a little bit.
Yeah, we got Mariano building the canyon in Terrell. We got Lucky Luke starting the process for a canyon in Canyon Lake. Got lots of questions. All right.
Awesome.
Well, hopefully we have lots of answers for you. Julie, we have filled out all of our paperwork and are waiting on the title company. How long do they normally take?
Okay. So waiting on the title company. So it could depend on what the title company is doing. So we typically, initially, we're certainly waiting on a title commitment. So we open title, which is just kind of a phrase that on every piece of property that our customer is going to be building on. And what we're looking for is actually us and the lender. The lender's going to do the same thing. What we're looking for is, are there any easements we need to know about that aren't obvious on the site, like so maybe they're not flagged or marked, or maybe there's a pipeline, maybe there's a utility easement, maybe it'll disclose all of that information. It'll disclose the restrictions of the property. If there's any kind of deed restrictions, whether sometimes customers know about them or not, they're on there. And then it'll also disclose if there's any issues with the land. So we're looking for maybe tax liens or things like that from previous owners. We're making sure a clean transfer of title has occurred all the way. This is not Itsy Bitsy Spider. This is a transfer of title. It's very different hand movement. Subtle, but different. And so every time the property has changed hands throughout the years, I mean, all the way back to what's called the sovereignty of the soil, or when the land belonged to the government, they check the title to make sure that everybody's niece, nephew, cousin, brother-in-law's ex-wife, husband's girlfriend deeded their interest over properly all the way down through time. So those are the things they're looking at, things that would hold up a closing. So title companies, mortgage companies require obviously clear title to close on the loan. So we're going to require that to get started. So that's usually what's happening there. Or if they're doing some kind of curative work. So let's say we've discovered something, we're like, oh, there was a hiccup, when your grandparents sold it, turns out that there was another heir that needs to sign their interest over, so the title company will sometimes help facilitate getting that done so that we can get moving to construction. So great question. That's what's happening.
Yeah. All right.
Someone is sitting in a county clerk's office somewhere reading through the grantor grantee index.
Yeah.
And somebody likes doing that. And I don't know who that is.
That sounds like lots of fun. Says the girl who loves spreadsheets. But J-Bo says, my Bernie Rep Colton is a movie star now after last week's live. Yes, he did awesome on last week's live.
Yeah.
Let's see. Lawless Turtles, the Parkers here in Fort Bend County, ready to build our Palo Duro after we get our temporary driveway in.
Cool.
Awesome. Got the Twilight Stitcher, hello from New Braunfels, looking to build with Tilson and Canyon Lake.
Awesome.
Rhonda, can the construction crews use our land dirt to build up the elevation?
Potentially, yeah, Rhonda. It depends on where it is, where the dirt's coming from. Oh, it's coming from your place. What kind of land that it is, what kind of dirt that it is, and really how high we're talking about. Because what we don't want to do, I mean, if you have an idea somewhere you don't mind having a depression or maybe even a future pond at some point. It probably won't be enough to do the whole pond that we take out of there. But what we don't want to do is create one drainage situation to try and solve another one.
Right,
so,
gotcha.
but our land preparation specialist will be able to help you out with that. It's not always necessary. A lot of cases we can fix it for less with just concrete, like just raising the form boards a board or two. Sometimes that costs less than mobilizing equipment and moving a bunch of dirt around for a week. So it really is situational, but short answer is yes, it can be done where we use land from the site to do that. We do that pretty frequently, particularly in North Texas.
Okay, awesome. We got Gail. Thanks to Eric for the assist in our process for Abilene B in Gillespie County.
Good speaking with you, Gail.
We got Shannon building Hidalgo in Wood County. We were officially released to the drafting and purchasing teams for their final processes last week. Awesome.
Okay, well, hang in there with us. It's that's an important part of the process. It takes a little bit of time, a lot of detail work being done.
All right. And Twilight Stitchers, her real name is Renata from New Braunfels, looking forward to building with Tilson and Canyon Lake. Awesome. And we've got Julie just getting excited to start a Harrisburg farmhouse in Johnson County.
Oh,
nice.
Beautiful. Perfect.
That'll be beautiful.
It's a great place.
Let's see. Hi from Kevin and Cindy building the Angelina in Kingsbury. The slab was poured last week. Very exciting.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. We've got Lucky Luke. Can we add driveway to our contract with Tilson so it'll be part of the mortgage?
Lucky, it depends on what part of the process that you're in. I mean, if it's up front, that's usually pretty easy to do. In other words, if we haven't started construction, sometimes if we start a construction, we aren't able to do that. So it really depends on what part of the process you're in. And it also is ultimately up to the lender, and us to make sure we have availability to do it. But it's up to the lender to add in, to make sure it'll fit in the appraisal, to make sure the appraisal is high enough to add it to the mortgage. So Those are things to check with, but I don't know where exactly you are in the process. So check with either your sales consultant or your building superintendent, or maybe new home coordinator, and we can chat that out.
Okay. We got Geronimo watching from Vegas. Just got the email. Our plans for our canyon and Pipe Creek is out of drafting and ready to submit. Awesome.
Congratulations.
Kristin is saying our area requires 80% masonry, which includes the windows and the doors. So the percentages that are on the drafting documents take those into account.
Oh, okay. Yes. And as long as we have, a copy of those restrictions, yes, they take them into account. And it does vary from place to place. I'm glad you mentioned, includes windows and doors. Sometimes they don't include them. Sometimes they only go up to the plate height, and then everything above that they don't count. Some places they want all of it. If it's on the outside of the house, it matters. So, and a lot of times, just a quick telephone call to the property owner association, or property management company, or architectural control committee can clear that up. Although in some cases, the 4 people on our architectural control committee don't agree on what the 80% masonry. So we've encountered that as well. We've got different answers from the same subdivision. So
that's always fun. All right, and we've got Barbara and Troy Massey building a Whitney D in Hayes County near Devil's Backbone.
Oh, very pretty, very pretty.
All right, and then we have, Jennifer, Fayetteville C and Terrell. House is dried in, just waiting on drywall. We signed last February.
Oh, very cool. All right, wonderful.
All right, well, let's go. Oh, so I just had one. Yeah.
Should we start the presentation, or we'll never get at it?
Yes, or we'll never get through. We'll come back for questions in a minute.
Keep posting in the chat. We do have a little presentation. Plus, it makes our head smaller, and so we're more comfortable because we're kind of insecure about that stuff. So we get over here onto the side. Yeah. Now, we please ask your questions. Put them in the chat. Send us a private message if you want to, but we will go through all of the chat as well. We want to get your questions answered, but we know some people are, on their lunch break. So we want to be sure that we accommodate those folks who have budgeted that hour of their work to be here with us. So developing land. This is, there's a lot, so this is the biggest part that differentiates building on your land, built on your lot construction to production subdivision, like Don said earlier. So we're talking a little bit today about all of these things. So this is a brief overview. If you're here and you don't know who Tilson is, this slide is for you. This is our 90th year in existence. So it's our 90th celebration. Founded in 32. We've built over 40,000 homes, and on average, about 10 families a week move into their new Tilson home. So if you are thinking about building on your land, for sure in Texas, but really anywhere in America, you're at the right place for getting your questions answered. If you're doing it in Texas, you're at the right place to get your questions answered and move on down the road with us and build your home. Yeah, but this is what this is for. We don't block this or gate. It's gating, right? We don't gate this.
Gating, yes.
What does that mean, Don, to say we don't gate these presentations?
Gating is when somebody makes you pre-register and give you all this information, and then you're kind of like doing this private Zoom, and there's just like somebody sitting by themselves in a room, and they don't even show you what other people's questions are. They just answer them. So maybe they were real people asking questions, or maybe they won't. You could be the only person in the room, who knows? But it's basically, for some reason, they're acting like what they're talking about is a secret, and we're not talking about anything secret. So why gate it? Why put everybody through all that?
Yeah, our goal is to get, we truly believe the happiest customers are the best informed customers. So, we want you to get all your questions answered. And if we can help you, fantastic. If we can't help you, you're still going to get good answers here.
Absolutely.
And you will get the truth. You'll get transparency. You'll get candor. You'll get some really terrible dad jokes. You're going to get all of that stuff at no charge from us. And we're not going to ask for your email address, and we're not going to ask for all that stuff. So we truly do this for your benefit, to get all those questions answered. And we know there's competitors on here too watching. We do. And it's flattering. It really is. So we're cool with that. So what is building on your lot? This is exactly. Sometimes it's a ranch. Sometimes it's a second home. Sometimes it's a lake house. Sometimes it's investment property. So it basically just means the home that you want built on your site where you want it to be. And now there's certain things, and this is going to be the theme through this entire particular Facebook Live, is because this is built on your land, there are things that you must do. You are an active participant. Yes, you are hiring a builder. Yes, you are paying for services. But because your name is on the property, you are the deed holder. There are certain things that we cannot do on your behalf because we don't own the land. Some of those things are requesting a 911 address, setting up utilities. Like I can't set up a power account in your name on your land, typically because you have to deed an easement to them. They're going to want 20 or 30 feet, whether it's overhead or underground. They're going to want 20 or 30 feet of easement that they are running their electrical through. I can't deed that to them on your land.
Right.
permit applications it's getting more and more where we can permit pretty much everywhere, but a lot of counties, they still want the homeowner to either at least sign off on it, and in some of them, they want you to go in person to the county offices. So we do everything we can for you, but because it is your land, there's certain things that you are responsible for that we absolutely cannot do on your behalf. Or certainly if we can do them, we need a lot of input from you on how you want that done. So we will get to a lot of those things. But Dawn, what are some of the things they need to know before we can even build?
So before we can even start, we're going to go through a few of those things, but there's some important documents that we need to make sure that we have straight. We're going to need to connect some utilities, allow for site access. So we need some way that all of our equipment can get onto your land and onto your property during all of this. And then we're going to do some site planning and preparation to make sure that your house is ready. So for the important documents, the first one is going to be your deed and your title insurance. So kind of what we were talking about earlier when somebody asked the question about what the title company is doing. This is your piece of paper that proves that you own the property, and a title insurance is going to protect you from any future claims on that property. So that's why they're going through and checking title and make sure that everything's clear, because at the end, you're kind of getting an insurance on that everything's all right. They're assuring you that, yes, you own this property free and clear. The plat and survey is going to show the property location and the layout. So we need to see exactly what your property looks like, where the boundary lines are, things like that. And you're going to want a copy of the deed restrictions. Hopefully you got all of this when you purchased the property. But if not, time to find it and hope that we don't have any buyer's remorse. So this is an example of the deed. So like I said, this is your proof of ownership that you actually did purchase this property and it is yours. So it's going to list the grantor, which is the seller, and the grantee, which is the buyer. Will contain the legal property description. And in some cases, it's going to state what the sales price was, but it's not necessary to be a valid deed. But the seller's signature must be notarized. And also, this transaction must be recorded with the county in order to be valid. If you signed a piece of paper and they said, hey, you own this land, but they never told the county, hey, I sold this land, guess what? You don't own that land. So we want to make sure that we have all of those.
In the real property records. That's what those mean. So it's really important that that they get recorded, and title companies will take care of this for you. That's why it's really, really important that you do this at a title company. Even if it's Mima and Papa or mom and dad deeding over the property to you, it's still always best to go through a title company because they handle all of it for you, and they work in that county all the time. They know what the county clerk requires. They know what font size they will and won't record. All of that stuff. These are things that come up, and I know it seems a little archaic, but this is the only way legally right now in Texas that land can transfer ownership. And there's lots of different types of deeds. There's sheriff's deeds. There's warranty deeds. There's special warranty. There's gift deed. There's quitclaim deeds. Stay away from those. There's all different kinds of things, but we can help you out on what you're going to need.
All right. Title insurance. When you are buying land, please always buy a title policy, even if it's being gifted to you. This is just protecting you and saying, hey, this property has a clear chain of legal ownership. So they're checking and making sure that everything's okay and saying, hey, we're going to insure it. If anybody comes up in the future and says, hey, I had a lien on this property before you bought it, your title insurance is going to take care of that for you. So make sure that you request that from your title company as soon as you sign your earnest money contract when you're buying your property. Make sure you get that taken care of. Boundary survey. So this is your drawing of your property. It's going to show where all the corner pins are. We want you to make sure that those are actually located on your property and flagged so that we can visually see them. The other thing your boundary survey is going to show is all of the building lines, easements, and setbacks. So that's basically identifying the easements and setbacks are showing all the places on your property where you can't build a permanent structure usually. So you're going to want to pay close attention to those lines. So making sure that you have buildable property and kind of tells us where we can orient things on the property itself. It's going to give all the dimensions of the property. In some cases, it's going to indicate flood information. So what zone you're in, and should contain a registered seal and signature.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so there's a bunch of imaginary lines on here that you
Yes.
don't see when you go buy the property. And that's what we're after. Anytime I go out and someone's, oh, can you come look at my land, see if you can build? Like, we're going to go look at it. I'm not worried about the stuff I can see. I'm always worried about the stuff I can't see. So easements, pipelines, boundaries, the building lines, setback lines, flood zones, those are and of course what's under the soil, which is what we're going to test for. So those are the things that as a builder we are concerned with, is the stuff we cannot see. So
you definitely want to take a look at that, because like on this boundary survey that we're showing, the bold lines are the property that you own. You own everything in between those bold lines, but the nice little like dotted lines is where you can build.
Right.
So
you can landscape out here. You could do pergolas. You can
pay taxes on it.
Oh, you're going to pay taxes on it. That's happening. But you can't have permanent structure, pools, outbuildings, house, all that. And the point is, you bought this 2 acres out here, right? I mean, you don't want to be right up against your neighbor. And that's what they're trying to help with. It's like, hey, nobody can build within, in this case, I think it's 20 feet of their side property line. And so worst case scenario, you're going to be 40, 50 feet from your neighbor. That's the point, is that nobody's going to be right up against their neighbor, which is why you're moving here anyway. So they're good things.
All right, so deed restrictions and covenants. Like I said, get a copy of these before you buy your land. Very important. But it's just going to vary depending on where the land is located. This is going to designate any type of home design requirements that might apply to the area where you're building. Some typical ones that we see are minimum square footage. We see some that designate a maximum height. We had a couple people mention they want to build in Canyon Lake. That's one of those areas where your home can only be so tall because we want to preserve everybody's lake views. It's going to designate the required materials. Like someone was saying, they had an 80% masonry requirement, and it should define what's included in that masonry requirement, what counts as masonry, because everybody has kind of different opinions of that and those types of things. It's going to say whether or not you have a garage requirement. Can you have a detached garage? Does it have to be attached? How many bays is minimum? Those types of things.
And maximum, I've seen.
And maximum, yes.
Yeah.
And then any type of guidelines. This is who you submit your plans to for approval. Is there a fee associated with applying for the plans? Those types of things. It could also state any requirements for construction. In some cases, they want a deposit to protect the road. Some places require a construction dumpster and that it be emptied at certain timeframes. Different things like that. We've seen concrete trucks can only weigh so much when they come on our roads. All of that kind of stuff that we need to kind of know about so we can take that into account.
Brilliant. Now, before we get into utilities, do we want to stop and because we got some questions?
Yes, I see them. I see them piling up. Let's go back. I believe we left off with Peter. So Tilson Tuesday. Right, Yay, a couple of questions. How does Tilson check to make sure that pipes laid before foundation is poured are not linked or obstructed when concrete is poured?
I guess we'll answer that one first. So that the building superintendent, the plumber ultimately is, that's part of their gig. They check that. They typically will air test it, and in some cases, depending on where it's being built, it has to be water tested. They have to put a certain amount of pounds of pressure of water on it, so they test it. But they will typically test it with air. There'll be a little gauge at one end or the other. They test it to make sure it's not, and they'll leave it for a couple of days. They'll pressure it up and leave it for a couple of days to make sure that the pressure doesn't drop. Because if the pressure drops, that means you have a
hole.
Yeah. So we got to fix that. So that's how it's tested for. And then, obviously the concrete contractors and the builder himself are cognizant. I mean, this is something they do every day, and they're on the lookout for, the plumbing pipe. That's, and there's a lot of builders actually who, they do it in a different order than we do. Actually the plumbers do it. They demand they do it. And it's more convenient for the plumber, but it is in our opinion, to be a catastrophic mess. And that is they want to go in and put suspend the plumbing, the plumbing. And we don't do that. At least not right now. And it's typically done on tall foundations because the plumber doesn't want to go in and have to dig through a bunch of sandbags and 4 foot deep of material to put their sewer lines in. But we don't want that. So you go in with just blank forms that are 4 feet tall, and they suspend using, rebar that's crossed like that and the pipe going through. And then we have to hope that whenever dirt is dumped in there, that it doesn't get
the rebar all stays put.
Right.
Okay.
Wrong. So
All right.
That's not something that we currently do. We're looking for new plumbers, and sometimes we get really far down the road with them, and then we find out they want that, and we're like, King's X, we ain't doing it. That's an accident waiting to happen. So that's how that's done. And so part of it is just the order of things to do minimal disturbance to the plumbing lines that have been installed. And then on the day of the pour, obviously that's when you're watching the builders out there watching all that real close. So hope that helps. What's the other question?
All right. So for the really tall foundations, do they get any type of finish so you don't see the form board imprints?
So in the hill country, yes, we do. If it's in one of our Central Texas locations, it's what's called underpinning. Some people call it sand topping, but it's almost like a little stucco finish. It's not painted, but it's like a stucco type textured finish. If you're in the Gulf Coast or in North Texas, first of all, you're not going to have really as high of a foundation, and then it will be just the form board imprints. Like petrified wood. It's very pretty.
All right. And then he's asking, how does Tilson go about ensuring good drainage in situations where the foundation is high/tall?
So we're required to make sure that water drains away from the house a minimum of 10 feet away. Positive drainage has to be established, so that we can't even pass the final inspection without that being done. So we'll do a final grade if we need to get that positive drainage established, and then it is the homeowner's responsibility to maintain that. And we've got some videos that we're working on. Yes,
that'll explain more about that and what you can do to ensure that you maintain your drainage.
That I'm not in, so you get some variety on these.
I'm not in them either.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, we've got Martina. Hello from Cali. I'm building in Avant. We have forms. Got pictures today, and it looks awesome. So glad to see things moving. That's exciting. That's awesome.
Very cool. Thanks for sharing, Martina.
All right, we've got Daniel asking, is it better to set up the culvert entrance to the lot before or after meeting with a specialist?
Daniel, I'd say afterward. I mean, if it's already scheduled and we're coming out there, let's do it afterwards. That way he can flag where it's going to be. He may have a little bit of input that could help you. Like, hey, I get it, you want it here, but if we did it 15 feet over here, it'll help make the turn into the garage easier. I mean, they have suggestions for things like that. But if you've already got it exactly where you want it, it's only going to go. It's you've only got 32 feet between these two beautiful trees, and you want that 20-foot culvert right there. That's a pretty easy one.
Or the county said it goes here.
Right, yeah. Sometimes the county or TxDOT will tell you it shall go here.
It goes here.
In which
right
case,
here.
That's where it's going.
Yeah. Kind of like the power company when they're like, it goes here. All right. It goes there.
That's it.
All right. We got Laura and Andy. We plan on building with you next year. We had a survey completed in early 2021 and have since added a storage building. Do we need another or updated survey to start the build with you?
No, you will not. So let's make sure that if you can maintain them over the next year, find the corner pins now, keep them flagged. Ideally, the storage building won't move. So as long as the corner pins can be located, you still have the actual picture survey, and we can still locate the corner pins, then we can move the house and where it is relative to that storage building. That will be no problem.
Okay, perfect. We've got Felix saying congratulations on 90 years.
Thanks.
Lucky Luke is asking, can we upgrade water heater to a Ream hybrid and electric cooktop to Wolf?
Lucky, we can put an inquiry for both of those most likely. We've done some of the hybrid water heaters before. I don't know if we've done the Ream specifically, but we've done that. And then the cooktop. I mean, yeah, I actually do believe that the supplier we use stocks Wolf, but let me explain something about appliances right this second.
Yes.
This is a tall ask for some people because they take their cooking very seriously. But I would encourage you to the degree possible, do not fall in love with a particular appliance today. If you are not like at sheetrock stage. You'll hear from us if there's an issue. Don't go cause panic. Don't call your builder, your salesperson. But what I am telling you is that appliances are one of those things that's very fluid based on availability, based on silicon chips, and based on semiconductors and all that kind of stuff. And yes, there are all those components in all appliances. So just be flexible. Know kind of what you want. Sounds like you want an electric one, probably a smooth top of some sort. And what width, 30 inch, 36 inch, 42 inch. But apart from that, I wouldn't get too attached to any individual
specific model number. Yeah.
Because they discontinued them notoriously before COVID was a thing. And now since supply chain issues are going on, it's a very fluid market.
Yeah. The discontinues used to be kind of on a regular schedule, and now they're just sort of willy-nilly. Like, yeah, we're done with that today. Sorry. All right. We've got Will checking in from Klondike. Hi, Will.
Hey, Will. Welcome, buddy.
Thanks for joining. We've got Angela. If deed and title have been completed, you have a plat but no survey. Does Tilson require a survey?
Okay, so she has another comment a little bit further because that helps. And so she talks about
clarify. It is a recorded plat with all the easements and setbacks and dimensions.
Okay, if it is in fact, Angela, what you're describing here, and the corners of the property are physically flagged and they're easily found, then you're probably going to be good. What I'd encourage you to do is send over to your sales consultant exactly what you have, and then go out to the property and see if you can locate the actual physical corner pins. If they have flagged them, sounds like it's pretty fresh, so they should be able to. You should be able to find them pretty good. It will be very rare to have it platted like that and not have a survey, but it's not impossible. Subdivisions will do that. But if you can still easily find the pins, find them, and they're usually pieces of rebar with a cap on top that have it's a plastic cap that has the surveyor's RPLS, Registered Professional Land Surveyor's registration number on it.
Okay.
So it's usually an orange or a gold or a blue cap done like that. And so see if you can find the corners. If you can locate the corners and the plat shows all the easements and that matches up with what we pulled down on the title, as long as we don't find anything else that's on the title work that's not on the plat, you're good.
All right, perfect. Let's see. Cali is saying she's watching from Bernie. Looking forward to building our Magnolia and Pipe Creek. Just waiting for the foundation pricing since our lot is sloping. So hopefully we'll hear something soon.
We will. They'll usually go out for bid. Cali, they take a couple of weeks to come back from bid, and we go from there.
Awesome. Pablo is asking any land broker agent in or around Harris County you can recommend, or what would be the best resource to find one?
So I prefer to use land.com, the Lands of Texas.
Lands of Texas, yeah.
That's a great place to start. There's probably
Can Tim's group help him out with land?
They could, yep. They could, yeah. The Tim Soika CTIM Cell team. You can go to CTIM Cell, Google that. I'm sure he's done his SEO properly. He'll pop up. But yeah, Tim Soika, SOJKA, with the CTIM Cell team. They can help you there. Pablo, I'd look real hard ask for a survey and flood information if you're looking at Harris County for rural land. There ain't a whole lot left.
And we highly recommend don't buy within city limits of Houston.
Right.
Because it will be a much more complicated process when you're purchasing. We won't do it, but with anybody, it's going to be a much more complicated, lengthy process.
That is the truth.
Kristin was commenting that she thought her ACC was picky, but me explaining everything that they could do makes her feel a lot better. So good. I'm glad. I'm glad we can help you.
They can get
pretty finicky. Yeah. Let's see. Molly is saying, can you build on basically any type of rural land, or are there certain aspects we should be looking for other than not in the flood zone?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, there's some coastal areas that we're going to stay away from. We won't build on the seaward side of the intercoastal waterway. But typically that's because it's going to need to be on pilings. So we don't do anything on pilings. So it kind of goes back to the flood zone thing. But other than that, I mean, if it's dirt, we can, or even rock, we can build on it.
Yep. All right. We got Mike saying his PK Magnolia home is coming along nicely. Thanks to Calcade and the Weatherford Tilson team for all their hard work. Good old Possum Kingdom.
Thank you.
Love it. So pretty out there.
Very pretty.
We got Wesley. Hello from Greenville. HVAC is completed. Siding is getting completed this week. Siding and plumbing is getting started today, and electrical is scheduled on Thursday. You are busy work site this week. Then exterior painting next week. Awesome. Glad to see everything moving.
Very cool.
All right. Lucky Luke is asking on his specific appliances. If we can't get them, can he buy them and get credit back for not using ours?
So water heater, that's a no. We're going to our plumber has to provide and install the water heater. There's too many warranty issues tied with what could go wrong otherwise. And it's a finger pointing game of, well, it was damaged from the manufacturer. It's a manufacturer defect. No, it's an install defect. We get it all one-stop shop. Nobody gets to make that argument.
Right.
On the appliances, however, that is something that we do allow. If the customer wants to provide those, that's something that we can work out. We do have to have the cut sheets before we release the file to construction. So we need to know, obviously, for the cabinets, like what the cutout dimensions are going to be for your wall ovens, your cooktops, microwave, dishwasher. So we would need the spec sheets, which are very easy to come by. They're usually PDFs on the manufacturer's website. So get those with your sales consultant, and we can get that tied up. Great question.
All right. Perfect. And why don't we go ahead and go back into the presentation, and then we'll
Let's
pick up
go.
questions again later.
Let's talk utilities.
You can talk about utilities.
This ought to get people asking questions. So yeah, you need water, power, and a place for the water to go, in short. You also may want to have gas. We'll get to that in a second. So this is, again, part of the work that's up front before you start construction. So a lot of people is like, why does it take so long to get started? Why am I don't have a building superintendent yet? These are all things that are happening before you're going to be assigned a building superintendent. This is what our land preparation specialists are helping with, your new home coordinators, and your sales consultants are helping kind of gather all this information and figure out what all is going to be needed. But you got to figure out who's going to be providing it. Most areas where we're building is provided by a co-op or a cooperative. There's not a gigantic power company like a TXU or a CenterPoint or Entergy, somebody like that, that run all the power lines. So it was run by a co-op. So like we had a guest earlier talking about the Grayson County Electric Co-op, the Sam Houston Electric Co-op, the Pedernales Electric Co-op. So that's who dictates and runs the lines. They're for the most part, very cool to work with. You are technically part owner when you join the co-op, so you get dividends. They have very competitive rates because the state makes them. So it's a good thing, but they have different rules all over the state of what they want done, be overhead, underground. So make those, and we'll help you, with that process. We build a lot of these areas and know who to contact. Next, you got to figure out if you're going to be on a water well, or if you're going to need to have a meter, if you have some kind of community water, whether it's city water or some kind of community or consolidated water. So is there a fee associated with that? Or do you need to drill a well? Is it going to be just your well? Are you going to share it with maybe your neighbors, or maybe you're moving beside your in-laws and they already have a well, you want to share that well? These are all things that are possible. We just want to kind of help you through that and find out where we're going to need to stub out and who's running what lines where, who's running the power for the well. These are questions we'll have to get asked. So we got a couple examples here. This is obviously a water well tank. The well is actually here. This little bitty black thing you see beside it is about a 4-inch diameter. That's the actual well that goes down usually a couple hundred feet. And this here is a pressure tank just to keep pressure on the lines going to your home. Then you have a meter down here, which you pretty traditionally see in like a subdivision or some type of city or community. So now, 91% of the homes we build are on a septic system. So we'll talk about that here in a second. But an on-site sewage facility, OSSF, that is permitted permitted by the county in which you're building. So there are registered sanitarians, or sometimes a PE, professional engineer, can design them. But they take into account how many gallons per day you're going to be needing. So they do what's called a perk test or percolation test, see how much moisture your soil can handle. That'll help them dictate if it's going to be a conventional system, if it's going to be aerobic, which is what most of them are, and what type of aerobic. Is it going to be a surface application with spray heads, or is it going to be a low dose where it has like drip system? Typically, those are only involved when you're very close to a main body of water. If you're close to a lake, I think it's within like 1,000 feet, you have to do that. And then otherwise, we do have some customers, particularly in a city, they're going to be tapping into the city sewer system. And so we got to find out, where the sewer tap is, how deep it is, make sure we have enough fall. And the city has those things on records, and 30% of the time they're right. So that's kind of helpful. Usually they're not right. So, but we can work through it. So your permit, and I know we have most counties require that the septic permit be applied for and obtained before they'll let you start construction, even though the septic's not going in until way close to the end of construction, typically after the masonry is on the home, the outside of the home is complete. Mm-hmm. But the county wants to know that you have some type of a plan on how you're going to dispense the wastewater on this home before you go out there and build it, and that it's sized properly for the number of people who could be living there. It doesn't matter if this is the house you're retiring to and it's just the two of you. If you're building a 4 or 5 bedroom home, they're going to want to permit it as if you were to sell it one day, that 4 or 5 different occupants could be inside there washing clothes, cooking, cleaning, going to the bathroom, taking showers. So it's usually a 2 to 4 week process. And again, these are things that we can help you with in most areas, but there is some signatures that we have to have from you, because as the landowner, you are like one of them's an affidavit to the public that you're going to be dispensing wastewater onto the surface of your land. They just want it recorded at the county. It's kind of a silly thing, but it's a state law. So
Right.
Sometimes you play your reindeer games with the state when they ask you to.
Absolutely.
And then lastly, in most of our houses we do are total electric, but quite a few we also do with either natural gas or propane. Most of them propane, because where most of our customers are building, there's not natural gas available.
Right.
So this is an example, 2 examples of a propane tank. One, of course, above ground. You've probably seen this somewhere. They're cool to paint the color of like a cow or a pig, super cute. Or you can also bury these propane tanks, and all you would see is kind of a part here, which is where the propane company will come and fill when you start to get low. So natural gas is kind of just always flowing; it's always there. LP gas, you can buy it at usually 250, 500, or 1,000 gallon tanks. Bearing in mind that they typically won't fill it up much past 80%. So if you have a 500 gallon tank, they're probably never going to fill it past about 400, 415 gallons of propane. So something to consider there.
Okay.
And there's a picture of a generator here. So now that's something to think about as well. If you're wanting to do a generator at some point, and you're going to be propane gas, you want to A, tell them there's going to be propane because it's a different type of orifice. And then B, also you'll want to size it properly so that if you were in fact having to run on a generator for 4 or 5 days or a week, you don't run out of fuel. So let those two entities talk to each other, your propane company and your generator company. And in fact, there's a lot that's a one-stop shop. I know Texas Star Propane, who we use in Texas Grand Ranch, they do propane and generators. So that's a good resource because they know.
All right.
And lastly, or most important of all this stuff, is access. So again, we had questions about culvert earlier. A culvert is simply a pipe in the ditch. So roads, have crowns to the roads, which means ideally they're curved on top, and they slope down to ditches on the side. Okay, well, that's all well and good until you have to cross that ditch and it's raining.
Right.
So to cross the ditch when it's raining, we put these things called culverts in so that the water can continue to flow through the ditch, not dammed up. Unimpeded was what I was looking for by the driveway you put in. So the county will typically determine the dimension, the diameter of this culvert. So how big across does it need to be? And they usually come in if they're concrete, they come in 4-foot sections. If they're plastic pipe like this, they usually come in 16 to 20-foot sections. And you go from there. I wouldn't ever do anything less than 16. Actually, I would never do anything less than 20. I would never recommend anything less than 16 because as you're turning off of the road, you don't want to wind up with your back right tire in the ditch.
Right.
But we have to have this to be able to do a lot of things. Most importantly, the soil test. We can't get the soil test done if the soil testing drilling rig, and it is a big drilling rig, if they cannot get all the way up to where the home site is going to be. So this is a really important one to get done early on. And then finally, site planning and prep. We're going to be out there helping you. Obviously, we meet you out at the property or the site evaluation. We draw up a site plan for you. We get input on what trees you're wanting to save and what direction you want to be facing when you're sitting on your back porch and watching the sun set or sun come up. We'll help you orient that. Or if you want the house squared with the road or squared with your neighbor, we help you with that. And then any kind of necessary clearing and groundwork that has to be done. When we meet you at the property, we're going to be asking a lot of questions because, again, this is your vision. This is your dream home. Now, we'll give input if you ask, but we're not going to just run out there and tell you this is where the house has to go.
Right. Yeah.
And if we do, it probably means it's a super, super tight lot and it's pretty self-explanatory where the house is going to go. But for the most part, we're going to be asking for feedback. Hey, what did you have in mind? What were you thinking? Have you thought about where the septic is going to go? Have you thought about, are you going to do a pool later? Have you thought about doing a garden later? And we're going to help do all those things so that we can tell you where you can or can't stub out the septic or the electrical. And we have all the code stuff we need to know, but we measure how far all the different hookups are going to be. Any type of out of level, we may recommend you shift it over here 20 feet or 25 feet. We could save you some money on drainage or slope. And then everybody's going to leave the meeting with a list of responsibilities, a checklist for those of you who like checklists. You will have a checklist. Or if you're perfect, you won't have a checklist. You'll just have to go wait to the next step. And then on site plan, we don't always prepare them like this unless the subdivision requires it or the city. So in this particular one, this was in Vintage Oaks, so we had to prepare a full scale site plan that they want for their ACC approval. And so this is showing where the driveway is going to be. Basically, they're wanting proof that we're not encroaching on any building lines, setback lines, easements, neighbor's property, all that kind of stuff. And they want, how far the house is from all the different property lines. And it all goes on a site plan: driveways, culverts, building lines, easements, all that kind of good stuff.
All that good stuff.
And then once all that's done, and some places want that signed off on before they'll let you clear. Not all places.
Our friends in Canyon Lake.
You're right. Yeah. Trees out, stumps out. And if whether we're doing it or you're doing it, if you're doing it, it all has to be, if it's inside the footprint of the home, we need the stumps, roots, and all removed. You can't leave any of that in there. You can't just have someone just come in with a chainsaw over a weekend and take those out and say, okay, we're ready to go. Like, it all has to come out. We all that organic material out of there. Anything that could rot underneath your foundation, we want that gone.
Right.
And
because when it rots, it sinks.
Yeah, we frown on this thing. This thing, it's a cavity, they say.
And like our
cavities are not good. But yeah, then we go create the level surface, do some drainage work. And again, we're working all over the state, folks. So some stuff's going to be on a dirt pad. Some stuff's going to be building up to the out of level with concrete. So this is a little generic on this show because we're talking about over 100 counties in the state, and it's different from region to region. But your sales consultant and your land preparation specialist can go into that in way more detail as far as where you're exactly building.
Right.
And then now we can actually see something happen. Now that we've developed the whole site, now we can
build a house.
Yeah, now the fun can begin. So I don't think we have to do a summary. We got questions.
Yeah, we got questions. Yeah. We talked about a lot of stuff, folks. Here's everything we talked about in case you were late. All right, let's go to the questions. So Renata is asking, she's looking at the Fayetteville C and would like to know what is the highest ceiling height we could have in the main living area. And I was trying to figure it out for her, but I can't because they didn't put measurements on it. But really, really high. As long as there is a cathedral ceiling option in that family room, as long as you are not doing the bonus room. If you're doing the second story bonus room, that does bring that ceiling height. Would need to be down because there's a room there. But yeah, really, really, really tall.
Yeah.
Unless Eric knows the exact measurement.
I do not have it picked up. Right. I'm sorry.
We'll stick with my technical term. Really, really tall. Yeah.
Yes. Now, if you are wanting to do a flat ceiling, we can reach out to your sales consultant, and they can reach out to our design drafting department and find out truly what we could go up to. Is it 11 feet? Yeah. Is it 12 feet? Is it 13 feet? And find out what the maximum on the Fayetteville C that you could go up to. I mean, it's not going to be much more than 11 without raising that back plate of the family room, because the family room is on an exterior wall and there's not a porch beyond it. The porch is over on the kitchen side. I'm just doing it from memory from the Waxahachie model.
Yes.
And so you would, if you wanted to go any higher really than what's in there now, which I think is 10 feet, you would need to raise the back plate of the home up. But that can be done. So without changing anything, it's 10 feet. If you're open to changing the back plate, then we can go up higher than that.
Okay. And if you don't care if it's all even, you do have the cathedral option.
Exactly. Yeah. Sorry. I should have mentioned that.
All right. Julie is saying we already live on the property in a tiny house. So we have electricity and water and even a septic, but we will be updating that septic. Do we need to run another pole or new water lines, etc.? Not
necessarily, no. So I don't know what type of electrical service you had installed. So if it was a 200 amp service, that's probably gonna be enough for most of our houses. A few of the larger ones, when you start getting into multiple HVAC units, multiple water heaters, they need a 320 amp service. So I don't know what size transformer or service you had installed, but if it's at least 200 amp, you're going to be good to go. And then we could actually work off of that pole that's there, and probably could even run the permanent power from there, as long as the co-op is okay with that. And on the water lines, no, if you've got water, we can just tee off. I mean, our base pricing that you're seeing on the internet includes 50 feet of water line. So if you're within 50 feet, it's not going to cost you a dime. And then any feet over that, we just have a per lineal foot charge, depending on where the home's being built. And we'll quote you that when we're out there doing the site evaluation. So.
Okay, perfect. All right, and then we have Peggy. Just confirming a previous question I asked in another video. We've lived in our Livingston B now for 4 months, and our tornado shelter is being installed this week. It will be bolted to the garage floor. Will this at all impact our slab or foundation warranty? Thank you so much for your time. P.S. We love our home.
Yeah, Peggy. No, it will not. Like I said again, you know there are cables running through there, but there's really no reason they should be going that deep when bolting that thing down. I mean, it doesn't need a whole lot because I'm sure it weighs probably quite literally over a ton. And there's really just no reason they should be going that deep. And so no, just drilling into the foundation is not going to hurt anything.
Okay.
You know, if they start going a foot or two deep, call us. Don't.
Yeah.
Let's call a timeout before they do something.
Yeah, ask to see the size of the bolts before they start. Yeah. All right. Armand is asking, will Tilson hook up to the community sewer system after the tap fee is paid?
So, yes, we will. If the city will allow us to, allow the plumber to. So a lot of these, so Tilson's not going to hook it up. It's going to be our plumber, or it's going to be a plumber. Now, some of these cities, they have a list of approved plumbers.
Okay.
Sometimes that works different ways. Sometimes it's friends and family. Not always, though. Sometimes it really is like they want them to be bonded. They want them, you know, they want them to have been vetted. They've done courses there at the city where that if they damage something, they have the wherewithal to replace it, that kind of stuff. So, they won't. Most cities won't just let anybody come in there and hook up, and you don't want just anybody. But there's no reason a licensed plumber couldn't hook up a sewer line in any city. But cities are funny.
All right. Megan is asking, will Tilson help with having the septic system placed during construction, or does it need to be in place prior to the build?
No, we'd rather you not put it in place first, and unless you have to. There are some rare occasions where, because of access or very narrow, what's going to be very narrow on the side, one side of the house or the other, that it needs to go in first. We have one right now in the hill country that we're doing that with, but it's like I said, we have one. So it's in most cases. We ask the customer to just wait until we're done with the outside of the home, and your building superintendent will coordinate with you and say, hey, you know, sometime in the next 2 or 3 weeks, reach out to your septic installer. It's time for that to go ahead and go in.
Yep. Usually we just want to get all the heavy stuff installed first.
We don't want to tear anything up. We don't want to tear anything more up than we're already going to tear up.
Right, exactly. Lucky Luke is asking, who puts in the HOA construction application fees, the owner or Tilson?
Okay, so typically, if it's a deposit, I think this was asked later too by someone else. The deposit typically we put up because we would be the one responsible if we were to actually damage something. The HOA construction application fees, if we have included that in the contract, we will pay those. If not, those are paid by the owner.
Okay. All right. Janet is saying GCEC is great to work with and their service is very good. However, lead time for the initial engineer visit is 4 weeks right now. I don't know how long after that before the pole goes up. So yeah, thank you, Janet. Very good point. All utilities are taking much longer than they used in the past. So as soon as you know you're going to go, call them and get on the list to get everything done.
And I'm glad you like working with them because they're a monopoly. So good for you. That's good.
You have no choice. All right. Megan is asking, do we have to have a culvert or only if the county requires it?
Really, it's not about the county even. It's actually about if we need it for construction access.
Okay.
So just because you can drive a pickup truck or even maybe a larger truck across there does not mean that all materials can be delivered. So really that's going to be up to our land preparation specialist. And maybe sometimes we'll get a VP of construction or one of our builders involved if there's a kind of a close call. But there are a number of places, Megan, that we don't have to have a culvert. So that would not be uncommon. It's a gentle enough entry onto the land that there's no reason to put a culvert in.
Okay.
So anyway.
All right. Rosie is asking if there's a fee for the site evaluation.
So no, the site evaluation is included in the contract price of all of our homes. We don't have a means by which to do that outside of our customers right now. But if you're under contract with Tilson, the site evaluation is included.
Okay. Molly is asking if we build pools.
Dawn, do we build pools?
We do not build pools.
No, we don't build pools. Yeah, we gotta stick with what we do well, Molly. I appreciate you asking. But at this time, we are a home building company. That's hard enough as it is.
Absolutely. Burns is asking, we have delayed building because costs are so expensive now per square foot. When will things return to normal? No. Yeah.
Burns, I'm sorry, but we are seeing no relief in sight for materials. Demand hasn't stopped. even the threat of interest rates going up haven't stopped people from wanting to build new homes. Again, inventory was the lowest level it's been in the history since they've been recording inventory levels in the whole country. So, and supply chain is not easing up anytime in the next 2 to 3 years. There's not it would take, and I don't think anyone wants this, and so just forgive me for putting out in the universe, but it would take a gigantic economic crash to bring prices down, in which case no one's going to be building anyway. So it's unfortunately something. I mean, $300 a square foot seems a little.
Yeah, that seems a little high
these days, outside of, unless you're building something super, super small with every souped up, supercharged upgrade in the book. But the prices are never going to come down to what they were 2-3 years ago. That's not
going forward. We really only see them going up. So unfortunately, this is what it is now.
Yeah, even we're seeing higher prices now in lumber than we saw at its peak. You may be able to make a bunch of money selling your land. I mean, he just made another comment. He should sell land. I mean, there's.
Price of land's going up too. Yeah, you can make money with that.
I wish I had different. I mean, I'd love to sit here and tell you something that's going to be different, but I don't want to mislead anybody.
Exactly. All right, Mariano is saying, torn about having a cathedral ceiling with extended cathedral patio in the canyon. Have concerns about energy efficiency, draftiness, sun glare, since the back of the house will be facing east, etc.
All right, so Eric? You don't need to worry about energy efficiency or draftiness. That's not going to be an issue. You're never going to be living up there in the cathedral ceiling part. So, it will be warmer up there than it is down below. Like, we can do a lot of things at Tilson Homes. Physics is something we have yet to conquer.
Hot air rises.
We're only 90 years in. But yeah, the good news is you're not living up there, so you don't need to worry about that. You won't have a draftiness issue. I mean, the thermostats are at a certain level for a reason, and it's not super, super scientific. That's where you're living. The thermostat height on the wall is there because that's about, where you should be walking around. Anyway, so sun glare, that might be a thing. Now there are tintings that you can do. You can we did it in our spring design center. I don't know if the opposite reason, it faces west. So we tinted it, and then, but that you don't have to do that. Some people, that's what they're after. They want that sunlight being cast into the room,
Right.
And it'll be different times of the year, Mariano. So, I mean, summer it'll look one way, and winter it'll look different. So yeah, I can't help with that, other than, we haven't had the porch helps tremendously because it shades a lot of that sun. We don't have that issue like in Texas Grand Ranch and our LaSalle or in the Driftwood for that matter in Georgetown. Like because there's a porch on it, it's no big deal. And I can totally see if it were just a wall of glass, that'd be a different story.
Right.
But because it's covered with a 13, 14 foot deep porch, it shades. It's a big shade. So
yeah. But energy efficiency and draftiness, we're passing the same energy testing no matter what your windows look like. So it's not going to be a problem there. All right. Rosie is asking, can we do the site evaluation even though we are not ready to build? Still paying down debt and savings, so we are thinking we will build in about 2 years, hopefully sooner. Yeah,
unfortunately, right now, Rosie, we don't have the bandwidth. We've got enough guys to handle all of our customers because they have to go back out to the sites a lot of times and verify or remeasure things or move houses or shoot grades, and we just don't have the bandwidth right now, unfortunately, to have them going and doing ones that aren't our customers. Maybe one day.
All right. Janet says she's okay with her electric company because the president is an Aggie.
You're fine.
It's all good. It's a good monopoly. Kristin is asking, with our home requiring 80% masonry, it's way more brick than we expected. Is there a brick that can be painted the color we chose for our siding?
We haven't done a lot of painted. In fact, I don't know that we've done any painted brick. I do know that brick has been painted. I'm just saying Tilson hasn't done that. So, I mean, I'm not going to say it's not possible. It is something we want to get with the painter and the mason about. But yeah, I mean,
and the ACC, I don't know how they're going to feel about painting.
Great point, Dawn. Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. Yeah, you may want to double check with that ACC to make sure they'd be okay with painting the brick.
Yeah, absolutely. Carolyn is asking, when should our account be set up with the electric company? We signed our contract on January 2nd.
I'd go ahead and set it up now, Carolyn.
Yeah.
Yeah, be the first step in typically even getting the process rolling on meeting somebody out there.
Mm-hmm. All right. Cedric's asking if Tilson has vendor contacts for blinds and fences.
We don't. Well, blinds we could, but we don't have anything for fences. So that you need to reach out to kind of your local. I would search on search engines and find somebody that can help you with the fences.
Okay. Let's see. Lorenzi is asking, would it be cheaper to build the home out of your own pocket or work with a custom home builder like Tilson?
Well, Lorenzi, it depends on what kind of contacts you have. And if you have the trades and vendor partnerships and financing to do that, maybe it would be less. I don't know also what your time is worth or what you do for a living.
That's what I was going to say, how much you value your time.
Yeah, I will tell you right now, trying to get, we are having a difficult time getting vendors, trades, and things like that to show up.
Materials.
And material. Yeah, getting materials. And we can, I ain't trying to brag or nothing, but we can flex on some of these, some other smaller builders because we're a steady job. This is not the only house the framer's going to frame for us. This is not the only house the plumber's going to plumb for us. This is not the only house that our vendor partners are going to deliver lumber to. We will have contract after contract after contract after contract. So if a lot of them, and it's not just us, like if they're given the choice between a one-time deal somewhere and a steady check, for the rest of their careers potentially, they're going to defer to the steady check. And so in cases like that, yes, they will give you preferential treatment if you'll pay them exponentially more. So then you kind of lose the economies of scale because you're only doing it one time. So that's the only advice I would give is right now it is extremely difficult to get labor and materials to show up on job sites because there's such high demand. So unless that's something you've done for a living for a long, long time, or maybe you do it in your day job, this is a really bad time to learn how to do that.
Right. I agree. All right. Carolyn is asking, how strong, sturdy is batten for the exterior versus brick stone?
So in either case, you don't have anything to worry about. None of those products are holding up the house.
Right.
The house is being held up by the wood frame construction, the stick-built wood frame construction. That's what's holding your house up. The brick and the stone and the hardy plank are what are known as veneers. Now, the brick is full-size brick. The stone is full-size stone. But by veneer, what we mean is it's simply cladding the exterior of the home. It's not holding up the home. It's not a stone house like they have in England. Okay, the house is not built of stone. It is built of wood covered in a brick or stone, or in this case, hardy batten veneer. So you don't even need to worry about comparing how sturdy they are. I would not want any of the three of those things thrown at my truck. So they're tough enough to withstand, the Texas weather, all that kind of stuff. But they can all be. I can go through my acreage community and any given Sunday and see where someone was texting and driving and drove over a brick mailbox or a stone mailbox. So they're not that tough.
Now it is important to know our batten it's not a wood product. It's not a vinyl product. It is actually hardy plank.
Great point.
Product. So, and that's one of the things we were talking about, what counts as masonry for insurance purposes. Hardy plank is masonry. It is actually a concrete product. Very, very sturdy.
And termites don't like it.
Yeah, termites hate it. All right. Tilson performed a soil stabilization prior to slab foundation being built. We were several feet out of level, so tons of dirt had to be used. We were able to use our own dirt, thank goodness. Anyway, do you recommend soaker hoses or not around the foundation?
Okay, Peggy.
We did have gutters and downspouts installed around the entire exterior.
Okay, that's good. That's very good. And my answer is it's going to depend on the amount of moisture in any given part of the year. And so what I would recommend is if we kind of defer till we wait till, like, we're not in a super drought part right now. So I wouldn't do soaker hoses right this second. You're typically almost never going to do them this time of year anyway. Yep. But as we get later into June, July, August, if you start seeing cracks, and I don't mean, I'm talking about cracks in the ground, like when the ground starts to dry out and separate, that might be a time where we consider those. But I would always have you reach out and defer to our customer care department, Christy Reyes and her team. and they can get a lot better advice on that for your specific area.
Yeah, I'm also going to say on your gutters with the downspouts, make sure that the water is going 10 feet away from your home, because you could be creating the opposite problem. So you may want to run kind of the downspouts under the ground and have like a pop-up come in past that. You want to make sure that that water is getting away from the house, so you're not creating the opposite problem. Barbara is asking, how long after receiving the building permit do you anticipate starting construction, building in Hayes County?
Barbara, it really depends. I don't know what, if anything else, we lack on that. I don't know if we have the engineer foundation design completed. I don't know if we have, I don't know anything about loan, if there is one involved, loan approval. But if that truly is the only thing we're waiting on was the Hayes County building permit, which is possible because they take a while, it could still be because of the backlog of trades in that particular area, the hottest area in Texas, your whole San Marcos, Dripping Springs, Driftwood, all of that, it could still be another couple of months. It could be another 60 to 75 days before you see any actual a hard spot on the ground. You know, three months before you see a foundation, but a couple 2 months before you see forms being set. It just really depends right now, if that's the only thing that we're waiting on.
Okay. Peter is asking, at what point of the house build is it reasonable to have a pool builder start working so they can finish in time with the house so there are no delays?
Well, almost they can't. I mean, for sure we already, and we've been on a previous live a while back, is that we are no longer including allowances to do that, like to pay for the pool, because they're encountering the exact same supply chain and labor issues that we are. They're taking longer and longer and longer. And what we can't have is a pool waiting to hold up a loan closing. Now, if you're doing it outside of the construction of the home, like if it's not being included in the loan amount, you know, whenever you want, the recommendation then is always going to be after we're kind of done with the exterior of the home, so that we don't tear anything up. So we don't want to tear up any pool equipment, damage the gunite, damage the dig that they've done. So when we're done with about the same time as septic system, we're ready to go in. That would be when I recommend the pool builder start. Okay.
Ashton is asking, can I get electrical and water prior to contract, or should I wait? I would recommend starting as soon, especially with the electrical. Start as soon as you know that you think you're going to build. In a little while, just reach out to the local power companies, see how they're running. Some of them are doing as normal. Some of them we're hearing as much as 6 months. So really kind of get that ball rolling as soon as you can. Let's see. Cedric is asking, with garage add-on, are there faux wood garage door options?
We do have some, Cedric. Yeah. Now garage doors are another one of those things right now that supply chain wise, they are in short supply. There's not as many options as there used to be, or the lead times are exceedingly long. But yeah, there are some that have faux wood doors.
Okay. Luke is asking, why do detached garages cost more, or does it?
They do. They cost a little more, and the reason is we're doing all four sides. On attached, we're only doing 3 sides because one of the walls is common with the house. So yeah, a little more material there. But the reason they're not a whole lot more is because on an attached garage, we do sheetrock, tape, float, texture, and paint and trim the interior of the garage. And detached garages, we do not. The detached garages are just exposed studs and rafters, which is how most people want them anyway.
All right.
Hang your tools up.
All right. Heidi is asking, are you having any instances where families are moving into their homes even though there may be an item back ordered? For instance, the master room tub.
Okay, so the answer is yes. Now, the master tub would be a pretty major one.
Yeah.
That would be a pretty strange call for it to not even be there. Typically, because the tubs, even like standalone tubs, they're going in, not always, but almost always at frame stage. So before the house is insulated to sheetrock. The standalone tubs is a little bit of an exception in some cases, but the short answer, yes. We're seeing more and more people to get the rate lock that they wanted, to get the furniture delivered when they said it had to be delivered, or stuff out of storage, or rent house. That, like, we are seeing minor things. And again, it's going to be our comfort level as much as it is yours. If we're not comfortable having you close, we're going to have multiple trades have access to that thing to finish it. We're probably not going to do it. But on the flip side, if it's like, hey, we're waiting on a cabinet part,
the cabinet door that goes on the front of the tub.
yeah, we know it's broken or we know it didn't show up. We're good for it. We'll sign an affidavit for you. We're not going anywhere. We have a customer care division. That's what they do. They can help with that. We'll schedule to come out and do that. Mirror trim, one door hardware that was missing in the upstairs closet of the bonus room, stuff like that. I would not hold up a closing for that if I were you. I'd have it done.
Okay.
Close.
Carol is asking if we offer screened-in porches. Yes, we do. Your design center can get you pricing on that. And then let's see. Cedric is asking for ballpark cost to turn a powder room into 3 1/4 bath.
It's called, I think they call it, it's a 3/4 bath.
3/4 bath. So putting
I call
in a shower.
It a full bath. Yeah.
Yeah, it's usually, by real estate, it's a full bath. I was kind of wondering.
Actually, price-wise, it's a full bath.
You can say it's a full bath.
Yeah, it's usually in the $2,000 to $5,000 range, Cedric. It depends if we're going to have to add an additional water heater. If a house only has 2.5 bathrooms, let's say, and we're making a third full bath or a 3/4 bath, we're probably going to encourage you to add an additional water heater. So that somewhere in that $2,000 to $5,000 range, depending on the size of the shower that you're adding, and if we have to add a water heater or not.
Okay. And he's asking if we have any front door keypad lock options.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, Schlage. We use Schlage, which is an Ingersoll Rand company, and Schlage has a couple of different options on them. Look, I'm a simpler guy, a less is more guy. I don't want the one with the Bluetoothy thing. I'm not about that. I'm a cool fan of it takes AA batteries and you punch numbers in. I'm a fan of that.
High five.
That I can fix when something goes wrong. So, but I'm nothing against Schlage. They all make great products. I'm sure there are people out there that love their Bluetooth app ones.
Mine does both.
Oh, good. Alexa, lock Dawn's door.
I didn't tell Alexa.
Oh, okay, sure. Anyway, right. So hey, that's about all the questions we have, isn't it?
Yeah, that's all the questions we have.
That is awesome. Well, guys, this was a great one. We sure appreciate you guys watching this. We hope you gleaned some little nuggets of knowledge out of this, some of Dawn's wisdom she was throwing at you. We appreciate that very much. We hope you come to these places and get your questions answered. Dawn, where all can they find us online if they got other questions?
Everywhere. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. We have a website. Go there. Everything is on the website, tilsonhomes.com. And then we also have 12 locations throughout the state where you can come visit us in person.
Yeah, and we love to see you. Again, we have the award-winning online sales consultants that'll set up that appointment. We got on our
award-winning website.
Award-winning website.
All the awards, guys.
All of them. So anyway, we thank you guys so much for tuning in. We thank you customers for bearing with us with this supply chain craziness. We know it's stressful. We know it's hard to watch nothing happen. We understand that, and we hear you. And we really want you guys to know how much we appreciate you. And so thank you from the bottom of my heart. We hope that you got something out of this, and we hope to see you soon and hope you join part of the Tilson family sometime real soon. We'll talk to you later.
Bye, everybody.